type it in. Huh?
What does EDM stand for? Sorry.
But Edmo stand for is actually a nickname for our organization. The full name of the organization is Adventure More. Yeah, and so we were actually originally many years ago Camp Adventure More, and then the kids gave us a nickname. They started calling us Edmo at camp, and we really liked it. And so we said, and it's a lot easier to make camp songs with Edmo versus Adventure More. So we stuck with it. All right, I see some more folks rolling in. Hey, Julie, I see you there. Thanks for joining. Julie's actually one of our other partners from Oakland Unified School District.
How's it going? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Same. We have some things some tools and things that we'd like to share with you. I also want to make sure we get a chance to introduce Kendra. We didn't get a chance to introduce Kendra in the intro. And really, we'd love this to be conversational. We want this to be helpful for districts and other CBOs who are here. So definitely, if you have questions or things, we'd love to have that kind of drive the conversation as well. Let me hand it over to Kendra and to at least introduce and say hello.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kendra Watkins, and I am the programs director for Edmo. So I oversee everything we do in person year round. So it's been a really fun time building partnerships. Last year was the first time I got involved with that really deeply, and had a really great summer connecting with a variety of districts and organizations, and really working with other CBOs as well to build out programs. So excited to share all of the information we have and hear your questions and provide support wherever we can.
Thank you.
And for a little more context, last year we worked with about 9 school districts to use their ELO funding to create programs. Obviously now there's different requirements with the ELOP funding, or ELOP, or whatever folks are calling it. So, we're starting to redesign again with the new requirements and funding. Kendra and I have met with now already 21 school districts since November of last year who are looking for partnerships. So really, the co-design process starts from really that very first meeting and figuring out what the district has, what their needs are, how many kids they want to serve, how many weeks you want to run programs. What's their vision for the program. Some folks contact us and they have a very clear vision, exactly what they want to do. And other folks come in like, hey, we're just exploring and let's kind of build from the ground up. As a CBO, we find it helpful when there is a little bit more openness so that, there is room for us to share some of the things that we know have worked or maybe haven't worked when we're working with the school district. But we also understand some districts just have very strict parameters that they have to meet or students they have to serve or lengths of programs that they have to do. Some of the prompts that we have for starting this conversation were, here we go, like, what did we wish we knew going into partnerships? And some of the things that I think, I wish we had known ahead of time. Well, one is establishing that relationship that was mentioned in that beginning slides. But yes, having a strong relationship, really identifying who are the key people in the district to have at the table from the outset, but making room, whatever things you decide with that key person or that key team, having a system to kind of track all that information, so that as you bring in new folks from the district, which you inevitably will, or new people from the partnerships or the CBO side, everyone kind of has something that they can catch up on. So tracking what are your strengths and challenges for the program? How are you going to be doing assessments? Who are the site coordinators at every site? Make sure everyone has everyone's contact information. All those things, like having a centralized place. And that was one of the things that we did with Napa last year, had created a shared Google Doc folder with all our shared documents, share all of your meeting agendas. So someone can always come back in and see everything that's been happening so far as they come into the partnership. I think another thing that things that are really important is really setting those community agreements and just really understanding I think this is one of the great things with working with Napa last year was we from the outset, we said, hey, you're new to this, we're new to this community. We had never worked in Napa Valley before. And so recognizing that was going to be a challenge. We didn't have existing relationships with families or the schools. And Napa had never really done summer programs before. So recognizing from the outset, hey, we're going to do our best to identify all the challenges we can ahead of time. We sat down and we actually went through a sheet and we identified our strengths and challenges in several different areas. The main ones that we focused on: program design, student recruitment and attendance, staff recruiting and training, curriculum and supplies, and site management. And so we went through and kind of assessed our strengths and challenges in each one of those areas with the partner, and then figured out, hey, we don't have relationships, but that's a strength of the district. How can we use that towards student recruitment? And a great example of that is Napa Valley. They have family liaisons at every school, and they were able to do outreach directly to parents and in homes that didn't have internet or not reliable access to internet, to recruit them to come into the program first before they opened up recruitment to everyone else. That's like a perfect example for us of like an amazing partnership, right? Because that's something we would never be able to do if we didn't have a partnership with the district. Those are a couple of things. I'd love to open up to the other folks who want to share some of the other things you wish you knew ahead of time or anything else.
Well, I mean, I'll just say I was new to my role last year. It was my first year as a director, having been a principal for 11 years prior to that. So it was new. Everything was really new for me. So there were a lot of things I wish I'd known, but just really the scale of the program that we launched was massive, and we couldn't have done that without a strong partnership with an organization like Edmo, because they, we had a vision for what we wanted to have happen for kids, and their experience in the field, and I wanted a program where we had academic intervention taught by teachers in the morning, and then Edmo enrichment in the afternoon. So they had experience in working in a model like that previously. So I could focus on really building a strong intervention portion of the day for the students that needed it most, and then rely on Edmo and our other partners at NCOE and Boys and Girls Club to really build out that afternoon so that students had a well-rounded experience over the summer. So just that piece of just knowing that relying on the partners to bring a lot of the logistical and their experience was super helpful for me. Again, launching a general education summer school program that we'd never done before, certainly on that scale.
I think one of the other things from our side was, one of the things I wish I know going in is things are going to go wrong. It's not going to go perfect. And I think that what we really had established in this partnership was that mutual kind of understanding that we were going to make real-time adjustments. And as things weren't working out or things weren't going exactly how we planned, we would actually come together as a unit and come up with solutions. We actually did weekly meetings throughout the summer to help facilitate that, so we could actually make real-time adjustments and not, only check in one time or at the end when, wrap it up then. So I think that was a really strong part of this partnership too, was just that continuous communication throughout the summer and throughout the program, and real-time quality control and adjustments as we go forward. So I think that's a really big thing. Remember, it's not all going to go perfect, but having that grace with both sides to know that we are really here for the kids and the community and working together to rebuild and readjust when it doesn't go perfectly.
Matt mentioned the model, like we did like what we call an A+B model in our partnership, which is essentially, yes, district summer school in the morning and then Edmo in the afternoon. Sometimes it's switched around depending on the district. We usually go in the morning and the district does their afternoon program. I think some of the the benefits have been highlighted. Each entity kind of focusing on the things that they specialize on. And there's also, challenges with that model too. Sometimes, it's hard to make that feel cohesive. So that was like one of the feedback we got even from some of the teachers who were like, hey, we would have loved to know it was pajama day on Thursday, or we would have, loved to know what kind of behavior management techniques or attention getters you use in the afternoon, like we could use them in the morning, or vice versa. Like there is still that it can be a little disjointed. So you have to really be, really building that time to either have your teams meet ahead of time and get to know each other, so that there isn't so much of that kind of othering, like that's our program in the morning and their program in the afternoon. How do you make it feel like our program, or we're all working together? So that's just one of the challenges with an A+B model that we've found. And I know that's something we've got Julie here on the call, and she and in Oakland Unified, they're trying to some new models as well, because they've been doing A+B for many years. And now this year they're trying a new model, which we've got a version for as well, like more of like an integrated model where folks are working at the same time. So we have actually, Kendra prepared some slides for us, and I don't know, maybe it'd be helpful. We can walk through some of those models with folks as well. So we'll give you guys some examples, and this is, again, hopefully something that's helpful for you as you're kind of thinking about how would you structure a partnership. We brought three models that we are looking at doing with each school district, and again, each one will be tweaked a little depending on the school district and the time. Kendra, do you want to walk through this model, the integrated model first?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we find really important as well as we work with partners is really being adjusted and being flexible. So when we're looking at these models, these are what we come up with in our brain and develop, but then anytime we're working with a district or a community partner, adjusting to what they actually need. So that's a big part of what we call the co-design process. Is we're not coming in as a CBO with this is how it has to be. It's really more of a conversation and building together. So that's, you're going to see here, all of these will involve collaboration because it really is a full collaboration. In an integrated model, we're looking at the partner and district staff working in tandem together. So supporting in the morning with doing breakfast and getting things set up for the day, being in the classroom with teachers and assisting them with academic instruction from the partner side. So our staff would actually be in there and be another person to just help support and work with those kids during that academic summer school time. Then going out to rally and doing that all together, which is what we call kind of our big opening for the day, really building up that camp energy. And then going into some enrichment time where we're actually leading the enrichment and the teachers are able to come in and support and learn, right? I mean, one of the things we hear from our partners is we'd love to have our teachers incorporate more of hands-on learning, the engineering design process, technology in their classrooms. And this is a great way for them to actually get a little bit of experience with that during the summer and see some different styles of teaching and different approaches as well. Then, going back in and assisting again with that academic instruction time. So kids are getting still that morning summer school, getting that intensive academic support, but there's more people on site to help with that and provide that for teachers. So again, you end up with less burnout, less teachers maybe feeling like they're stretched too thin or having too much on their plate for the summer because they just have more people around to help and support and to really build that partnership. So the kids are moving back and forth between the two programs and you really create that cohesion. And then in this model, we also have, ourselves or your partner taking the rest of the day to really create that 9 to 5 day, meet all the requirements of ELOP with that 9-hour day, but teachers and district staff getting to be done after that midday point. So it's still just a half day for the main district staff. Does anyone have any questions about this model too? I want to open it up just to see if has anyone tried a model like this and had it work really well. Great.
I know for us in Oakland, this is what we're, it's like because of the new money, the ELOP money, we can actually do this finally. The reason we've always had to do A+B through the years is just because of fiscal constraints. So we've always wanted to, we want the teachers to be part of the rally. We, you know, and we want the line staff to be part of the, you know, the enrichment staff to be part of the literacy instruction. We've always wanted to bring the two together. And it was always about labor and labor costs was what was keeping us. So we're going in this direction. We're not gonna just do it across the board. We're kind of easing all the partners and the teachers and principals into it. So it's more like a pilot, like Ed said. But yeah, for us, this is our dream. And we're hoping we can get, you know, a good chunk of our sites to move in this direction.
And there's definitely, you know, an added cost because your CBO would be working the full day, right? They're there from 8 until 5, whereas your normal A+B, you've got just the CBO is only there for the half day. But if you have the budget, in Oakland, they have the Oakland Fund for Children and Youth, and they have other funding that can help supplement the ELOP funding. That might be more realistic for you. If you have maybe just ELOP or just ACEs, it might be a little bit harder to do a model like this. But ideally, we can then maybe leverage, you know, if you have other funders in your community that you can partner with and do, you know, co-grants with, you know, this might be something you could get to next year if you don't have the money for it this year. Partner and kind of make this the goal.
Matt, I'm curious if you would want to add anything related to funding for you all thinking about partnership. I think this is a really interesting component as far as thinking about, and if you've had opportunities or if ideas are coming up of how you might do even like shared, you mentioned shared grants, Eduardo, but I'm just kind of curious, Matt, if you have anything to add as far as how you were funded or what that funding kind of looked like for you last summer, or Eduardo or Kendra, anything you want to add to just about funding?
Sure. So so last year we were able to use the ESSER and the CARES Act funding to support this program, which is why we were able to offer such a robust summer program last year. Still, that there was limitations because what our goal was to serve as many students as possible to help build that bridge back to the fully in-person school day. So our goals have shifted a little bit. Our goal is not necessarily to serve just en masse as many students as we can. Our goal this year is to go more targeted and provide a more intervention and enrichment focused program for the students who need it most. So the ELOP funding is really specific to the students who are unduplicated. And while we did prioritize those students last year, we were able to offer programming for everyone, anybody that wanted it, regardless of whether they were unduplicated or demonstrating a financial need or not. We were able to provide some level of programming for most anybody who wanted. There were waiting lists, but we still were able to offer that. This year, we're not looking to do that. So we're really targeting our efforts to those students who have the most academic need or who have the most attendance issues, who've had the most attendance issues throughout this school year, because the funding has really shifted. The way that we can use the funding has shifted this year.
We can you want to show the next one? Yes, this is your typical A+B model. You know, the blue portion, the district staff, every district's going to make this different. This is just a sample of what a morning could look like for a district. And then in the afternoon, you see that we have in this model, the staff starting at 11 o'clock so that there could be some overlap with at least one period of instruction so that, you know, again, the staff and the teachers build a little bit of that bond and there's a little bit of that overlap. But again, it's all depending on budget. Some district we're working with right now literally have that cutoff at 12 o'clock and have us starting right at 12 and going to the end of the day. So, you know, again, this is flexible based on people's models, but this is another example of how you could fit in that academic instruction and enrichment in a full day. And then lastly is a full day model. So this is some districts are like, hey, we don't want to do anything around summer. We want a CBO to just handle the full day program. So in this model, district staff, really the collaboration is on the front end. And there's always like pieces of it during the actual summer, but a lot of it is in that student recruitment, the facility rental, janitorial, the family support, the pre-program planning, all that is where we're really collaborating deeply. And then once the summer program starts, essentially Edmo, we just run the whole thing from 8 to 5 p.m. And And that's kind of our typical day that we have there. And we'll share these slides out. I'm sure there'll be a way to get these to you all afterwards too, if you want to look at them. But again, some helpful models. Some other, oh, and I think we have we have our contact. Oh, that's right, the co-design process. So here's like a process we go through with districts. So usually there's an introductory meeting. We start kicking around scenarios, figuring out, okay, what can we do with the amount of money you have and the amount of kids you want to serve and the amount of time you have. We've created some kind of a formal proposal. Usually that proposal needs to get bounced around inside the district a little bit. And sometimes it comes back to us and we make changes. Eventually the contract gets signed. If folks do need a sample of like what a blank MOU looks like or something, let us know. We can also, we're happy to share that. Our contact information will be at the end. So we can send that off to folks. And then we start the kickoff meeting. And that's where, again, we're identifying those strengths and weaknesses in all those different areas with the partner, and then trying to figure out how we can leverage each other's strengths and foresee as many of the challenges as possible coming up. And also create those co-design community agreements. And then kind of really start to build that culture of the collaboration process, again, so that new people coming in know where we've been. Then we start those planning meetings that goes all the way to the launch of the program. Once the program launches, we must continue with those in-season meetings, guaranteed. As best laid plans you have, something is not going to go well. Something unexpected will happen. So especially that first week, I think usually we have at least 1 or 2 meetings, if not more, on the schedule for that very first week of program. Start making those program adjustments immediately from what you're hearing in the field, and then put into place your data and evaluation gathering. Obviously, that's something you've kind of thought through in your planning meetings, thinking about what are the surveys you're going to do. And you know, with Napa Valley, we surveyed everybody, the kids, the parents, the staff, the principals, the district administrators, kind of get every single perspective you possibly can on the program. And then to again inform like how we can do this better the next time around. And then at the end of the summer, we have a summer debrief with our partners, and we go through all of that data and kind of what are our insights and learnings and for the next year. So that's the overview of the process. We have our contact information in here as well. We can also drop it in the chat. At least myself and Kendra, we didn't want to give out Matt's info without his permission. So if Matt wants emails, I can let you know.
I'm going to put my information in the chat. I'll do that right now. Great.
So, and then also, if you want to learn more about our partnership programs or are interested in partnering, you can just go to edmo.org/partners. We have a little bit more about how our different models, and you can go ahead and fill out an information form. Definitely some other tips. You heard it in the previous slides. Starting early, that's essentially impossible at this point, as we are in spring. So, do your best to plan as early as you can now. We know that, if we start the process now with partners, at best, probably we can get a co-design process started by mid-February or early March, which still is a very tight timeline. Ideally, we're starting in fall to plan for the next year. So it will still be tight, but do the best we're planning to do the best we can. If we have the time to bring in some stakeholders and get some surveys out to families, see what kind of curriculum themes they want to do this summer, great. If not, hey, let's put that on the wish list for the next year, and do your best to get that program off the ground. Some other tips for districts out there: if you're able to make a longer program, the biggest challenge we foresee this summer is going to be staffing. The fact that we were already in a staffing crunch last summer, and that was before every single school district was mandated to have a summer program, on top of all the private providers that were already struggling to get staff. So everyone's going to need folks to work this summer. So if you can offer folks a 4 to 6 week job, that's better. If you can swing it in your budget, that's going to be easier to find staff. If you have to do shorter amounts of time, if your program partner already maybe can extend the job by like adding extra weeks of their own program afterwards, so you can offer folks that longer job, that's going to help. If not, if you can partner with other districts and maybe stagger your start date. So if you are thinking of a 3-week model and your neighboring district has a 3-week model, don't put them on the same weeks, 3 weeks, right? Like split them up and maybe you can share staff across districts. But staffing is going to be one of the biggest issues. And as you all know, all the staff have to pass the instructional aid test. So that's going to be kind of a tricky one too. So I know, like that was something that came up in our conversations with Matt, and like, what's the process for having outside people taking your instructional aid tests, and then how do we get that data to see if they passed it or not? And foreseeing that that's going to slow down your recruitment process as well. So again, getting all that sorted out as soon as possible means will help your life. Would love to open it up for questions and make this a little bit more conversational. If you're brave enough or dressed enough to get on camera, I'm happy to see people's faces too. But yes, would love to find out what's helpful for folks.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself, or we're monitoring the chat box as well if that feels more comfortable.
And I see the note down there, Julie. Yeah, it's not too late. It's not too late. We promise you can still be planning and going now. I know a lot of organizations are just starting to think about that. The earlier, the better for sure, but definitely still have time to fit it in for this summer.
I can pose a couple of questions that came up from the registration form. And one that I know you brought up at a different session, Eduardo, you may have said this, is there a particular like date or time frame where your partnerships like need to be in place, where your MOUs need to be in place? Matt, for you, this might mean like, like what school board meetings, right, need to approve these contracts. And then the question from the registration form is like, what does recruitment and marketing look like? How do you kind of split up or share those responsibilities when we're talking about recruiting students?
Just speaking for us, first week of March is when is our cutoff for new partnerships. We think after that it would really hamper the success of the program if we make that planning time any shorter than the beginning of March.
And it's, as you mentioned, it's really all school board driven. So we're looking to get our contracts to the board in February so that we have that all solidified. It felt last year we didn't realize we had the funding. All of this happened really late. So we're happy to be starting earlier this year. And then in terms of recruitment and outreach, as Eduardo mentioned, we have community liaisons at each school site. So we partnered with Edmo, and Kendra and her team created flyers, information that we were able to send out to families and could work with our liaisons to target those specific families and really follow up with them to make sure that they got their registrations in. So the recruitment was very much a joint effort. The design work all happened on the Edmo side. And then we followed up with recruitment for our AB program. And then for their standalone Edmo programs, they recruited. But we used all of our communication tools internally to get all of that information out. And then another piece around recruitment is that we had our program ran in 2-week sessions. So we had 6 weeks of 3 2-week sessions. So we were recruiting for like the third session, which was in late July in May. So we needed to make sure that we had a system set up throughout the summer to continue not only recruiting, but then following up with the people who we had recruited and who'd made a commitment so that we could make sure that they actually showed up at the program. So I put together an attendance team that were some of the liaisons that wouldn't ordinarily work during the summer, but they were able to follow up on the recruitment and then attendance to make sure that families were actually showing up to the programs that we invited them to and that they'd committed to attending.
And that was a challenge, like getting consistent attendance through summer, especially for free programs. It's a little bit easier for families if they have a change of plans or something can't make it to not attend the program. So having a clear strategy after that day one, if you see those attendance numbers low, like to follow up with families would be helpful. And if you can put into your plans, some kind of incentive, even if it's a small incentive for completing all the number